They said it wasn't humanly possible. All the power and excitement of Nintendo right in the palm of your hand. Introducing Game Boy.
Welcome to MojoPlays, and I'm very excited about this one. After ranking every video game console, I get to go smaller. This is every handheld video game console ranked. I am a big fan of handheld gaming because I have ADHD and I like watching YouTube while playing a game and listening to a podcast and humming a song. I should get medication. Let's go. Before we continue, we publish content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified of our latest videos. N-Gage.
Get off me! Get off me! God, get off me!
Feel the power of the new Nokia N-Gage QD from Singular.
I don't want to even acknowledge this with an entry, so let's just rush through it. The N-Gage, developed by Nokia, that's right, Nokia, was a hybrid device combining a mobile phone and a handheld gaming system. Officially dubbed the Game Deck, Nokia designed the N-Gage to compete with the Game Boy Advance by integrating phone functionality, including SMS texting, into an all-in-one gaming device. Despite a lineup of over 50 games, including titles from major third-party developers, the N-Gage struggled commercially. And I wonder why. Its awkward button layout made gaming uncomfortable, and its distinctive shape earned it the nickname Taco Phone. Gizmondo. One of the most infamous hardware failures in gaming history, Tiger Telematics Gizmondo aimed to be a groundbreaking device, packing a camera, mobile data, GPS, and more. Features that were far from standard at the time. Millions were poured into its development and marketing, including extravagant launch parties and celebrity endorsements. Despite all this, the system sold fewer than 25,000 units worldwide. If you aren't aware, that's pretty abysmal for sales. Plus, I don't know if you ever got your hands on one of these, but it was mostly rubber, and it was stupid sticky rubber. It sucked.
4, 3, 2, 1, go!
Gamate. The BitCorp Gamate was launched around the same time as the original Game Boy, clearly aiming to capitalize on the success of Nintendo's iconic handheld. Unfortunately, I don't need to tell you why in a homophobic 90s Australia, kids refused to say they wanted a Gamate. Was it correct? Absolutely not. Unfortunately, I can't change history. Between 1990 and 1995, around 70 games were released for the system, though many of the later titles were only available in the Far East. Despite being a relatively small company, BitCorp managed to secure distribution partners with several Western companies. However, the Gamate's blurry screen and lack of quality games ultimately ensured its death. Watara Supervision.
8-bit System, Hi-Fi Stereo.
E il tuo divertimento raddoppia con il maxi schermo Top Dimension.
Supervision, il tuo nuovo portatile con maxi schermo.
Also known as the Quickshot Supervision, the Watara Supervision was another attempt to capitalize on the Game Boy's early 90s success. It featured a small monochrome display that stood out with its unique tilting design. Whoa, it's like a Game Boy with angles. Later versions of the device removed the tilting screen, likely to reduce production costs. Despite plans for an accessory that would add color to the Supervision games, the device ultimately disappeared from store shelves, unable to compete with the dominance of the Game Boy, which it so desperately tried to copy. Gamecom. Confident in its ability to compete with Nintendo's aging Game Boy, Tiger Electronics, not to be confused with Gizmondo's company Tiger Telematics, launched the Gamecom, or Game.com, in 1997. Boasting a monochrome touchscreen and backing from major publishers like Sega and Capcom, the company had high hopes for its new handheld. Plus, it was 1997 and it featured internet connectivity. Wild. Despite featuring big-name titles like Sonic, Frogger, Mortal Kombat, Resident Evil, and Fighter Megamix, the game library was underwhelming. The screen was kinda poop, but praise where praise is earned, it was trying to do a lot of things. Genesis Nomad. Released just as the Sega Genesis era was winding down, the Nomad was a dream come true for Sega fans, at least on paper. It featured a full-color backlit screen and could play standard Genesis cartridges without any modifications. The downside? It was the size of a brick and lacked an internal battery compartment. Instead, you had to attach a bulky battery pack to the back, making the device even more unwieldy. Worse still, 6 AA batteries provided a measly 4 hours of gameplay. You could technically plug this giant monster into the wall, but then you've just got a regular console, and it's not as streamlined as the Switch. Playdate.
This video is about a little box called Playdate.
I love it. What is it?
It's a new thing. It plays games.
Don't be fooled. Panic's Playdate may look like just another retro emulating handheld, which we are specifically avoiding on this list, but it is in fact a completely unique system with its own exclusive games. Priced at $179, the Playdate is arguably the ultimate hipster handheld, drawing some inspiration from Nintendo's classic Game Boy. It features an unlit black and white display, but don't worry, it's far superior to the Game Boy screen. What might seem like a gimmick at first turns out to be an innovative addition to handheld gaming, and it's flown relatively under the radar.
You crank it, like this. It can control the games. It's fun. Now look at this. The display, extremely high resolution.
Is there a backlight?
No, but the screen is super reflective. You can even play it by candlelight.
Really?
Maybe.
WonderSwan, WonderSwan Color, and Swan Crystal. Compact and powered by a single AA battery, the WonderSwan was even more portable than the Game Boy Pocket. Despite selling around 3.5 million units and securing support from major developers like Capcom, Namco, and Square, the WonderSwan never posed a real threat to Game Boy's dominance. It remained a Japanese exclusive and struggled to gain traction. The original monochrome model was followed by the WonderSwan Color and Swan Crystal, but by the time they launched, the more powerful Game Boy Advance had already taken over the market and it was dominating it. Atari Lynx.
Hey, Mr. Block, can I go to the bathroom?
2 minutes.
Oh, yes! Good man. Oh, yes, yes!
Notorious for its bulky design and high power consumption, the Atari Lynx remains one of the few handhelds that genuinely challenged Nintendo's dominance in the early 90s. And to challenge Nintendo in the early 90s is a proper David vs. Goliath, if Nintendo is both David and Goliath, and the other companies are bugs hanging around David's feet. With solid hardware and a diverse game library, it managed to sell around 2 million units worldwide. However, this wasn't enough to compete with the Game Boy, which, despite being technically inferior, was far more portable and boasted longer battery life. PC Engine GT.
Are you one of us? 16-bit graphics, or one of them, 8-bit? Us. CD game sound.
Like Atari and Sega, NEC set its sights on the handheld gaming market in the 90s with the PC Engine GT, known as the Turbo Express in the US. Featuring a high-quality display, it had all the makings of a great portable system. Again, at least on paper. However, much like the Lynx and Game Gear, its biggest flaw was battery life. The device burned through AA batteries at an alarming rate, severely limiting its practicality as a true handheld console. Parents just didn't want to invest in bi-weekly battery shopping. Geo Pocket, Geo Pocket Color.
Here, the revolutionary Geo Pocket Color. With 16-bit power, linked to the Sega Dreamcast.
The Geo Pocket and Geo Pocket Color deserved far more recognition than they received. Launched during a time when the Nintendo Game Boy dominated the handheld gaming market, SNK's compact powerhouse had plenty to offer. It boasted more power than Nintendo's system and even featured connectivity with Sega's Dreamcast. Naturally, SNK strongly supported the device, bringing many of its iconic franchises to the platform, including Metal Slug, Fatal Fury, Samurai Showdown, Neo Turf Masters, and The Last Blade. Even Sonic and Mega Man made appearances. Unfortunately, this wasn't enough to loosen Nintendo's iron grip on the industry. It was bested, but that doesn't mean it wasn't amazing. Game Gear.
Whoa.
The Game Gear was Sega's first handheld console, competing directly with, that's right, you guessed it, Nintendo's Game Boy. While the Game Boy ultimately dominated the market, the Game Gear outlasted all of the other non-Nintendo rivals, remaining in production until 1997. By the time Sega discontinued it, the system had sold over 10 million units worldwide, solidifying its place as the second most successful handheld of its era. Featuring some of Sega's biggest franchises, the Game Gear boasts a strong library that still holds up well today. Nintendo 3DS and Nintendo 2DS.
Why do we play 3DS?
Because battles can happen anywhere.
Because playing in the dark is so awesome. It's scary.
In many ways, the glasses-free 3D of the Nintendo 3DS is a marvel in gaming innovation. In many other ways, it was so pointless and made me go, ooh, the first time, and then I never used it again. Following the Nintendo DS, Nintendo's best-selling hardware with 154 million units sold was going to be a challenge. While the 3DS didn't surpass its predecessor in total sales, it boasts one of the most well-rounded game libraries out there, packed with platformers, races, RPGs, action games, and much, much more. The 2DS, released 2 years later, stripped back the unnecessary 3D feature, bringing the price down and making its awesomeness super affordable. PlayStation Vita.
How many times did you do it yesterday? Are you afraid you're doing it too often? In your bedroom under the blankets? Or perhaps you prefer the kitchen or on the toilet? Or do you like it out in the garden?
The demand for the PSP was high, with the marketing and innovation of bringing high-quality PS2 equivalent games to a handheld, but few expected just how hard it would be for Sony to convince the world that the PS Vita was worth buying. Despite its sleek design, powerful hardware, and a solid library of games, the Vita struggled commercially against the Nintendo 3DS. However, it found a dedicated underground following, with physical games still being released long after Sony had moved on. Even today, many fans argue that the Vita is one of the greatest handheld consoles of all time. I, however, argue that it's 7th best. Still great. Game Boy and Game Boy Color.
It wasn't humanly possible. All the power and excitement of Nintendo right in the palm of your hand. Introducing Game Boy.
In my recent video for Best Game Boy and Game Boy Color games, there was some kerfuffle in the comments about combining them into one entry. Luckily, I wasn't blamed because you guys don't think I write the scripts and do the video edits, thank God. Unfortunately, I do, and even though Nintendo has no shortage of groundbreaking best-selling hardware, and even though the original Game Boy was the first to transcend gaming and become a true cultural icon, I'm still combining them into one entry because for a lot of gamers, and thanks to backwards compatibility, they existed basically side by side. The Game Boy became as recognizable as the Walkman in the late 80s and early 90s, and in 1998, rather than reinventing the wheel, Nintendo simply did what made the most sense, adding a splash of color to one of the most successful consumer products of all time. PlayStation Portable and PSP Go.
That ain't built for big boy games. That's built for texting your grandma and calling your girl.
You text your grandma?
Of course I do. And for $9.99, you could be playing this on a PSP.
While the PlayStation Portable didn't surpass the Nintendo DS, it still sold an impressive 82 million units, far outpacing the majority of history's handheld systems. The PSP was a game changer, truly increasing the specs found in handhelds, dominating the DS in power and shaking players to their core with the graphical quality of the games in their hands. Its success not only broadened the appeal of handheld gaming beyond Nintendo's core audience, but also inspired major developers like Capcom, Namco, and Konami to create handheld titles that could rival home console experiences in both spectacle and gameplay. Remember Monster Hunter Freedom Unite? Remember Daxter? Remember Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker? What a system.
Oh, did I forget to give you the room keys? Well, you'll find a way.
Nintendo DS, Nintendo DSi. Imagine pitching the Nintendo DS. Here's what I'm thinking. Dual screen, touchscreen pad, a clamshell design. It doesn't sound cool, but trust me, this clever blend of innovation and nostalgia resulted in one of the most successful handhelds ever, offering a unique and accessible experience. It was also backwards compatible with the much beloved Game Boy Advance, meaning you can enjoy a brand new fantastic console and the library of one of the best handhelds ever made. The Phantom Hourglass, Mario Kart DS, Animal Crossing Wild World, hell of a lineup.
Be quiet and you won't get hurt.
Steam Deck.
This is Steam Deck, the most powerful gaming handheld in the world.
Our newest entry comes in the form of the recently released Valve Steam Deck. With powerful hardware, a sleek design, and access to one of the largest digital game libraries in the world, Steam Deck has a lot going for it. I, for one, have never even picked one up, and I would love nothing more than to get my hands on one of those bad boys. Valve, hit me up, please. While it hasn't received the staggering sales numbers of the Nintendo Switch, it has still carved out a solid niche. The introduction of the OLED model only enhances its appeal, making portable AAA gaming even more immersive. Plus, the seamless cloud syncing across any device running your Steam account is a game changer. Sit at your PC, sit at your couch. Sit at your PC, sit on a train. Sit at your PC, sit on the toilet at work, rinse and repeat.
Steam Deck. Powerful, portable PC gaming. Reserve yours now.
Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch Lite.
Wait, I'll show you something. Wait, what do I do? You can just hold it down. Olivia, go faster, go! It looks good. And yummy.
It might be surprising to see such a recent console ranked so highly, but there's no denying that the Nintendo Switch has been a game changer, at least for me personally. Truly, this is all about me. Deal with it. Please like the video. As the first system to unify Nintendo's home and handheld gaming divisions, it seamlessly blends TV and portable play, offering experiences that feel both AAA in scale and perfectly suited for on-the-go gaming. It laid the groundwork for the Steam Deck and showed developers that there is a clear market for high-powered gaming that can move with the player. With an incredible library and a solid digital storefront, it's no wonder the Switch has been a massive success. Move over to the Switch Lite and you've got one of the most affordable handheld entries into modern gaming.
I am Raro.
Game Boy Advance and Game Boy Advance SP. Launched in 2001 in the PS2 era, the Game Boy Advance was a major leap forward from its predecessor, the Game Boy Color. The GBA promises SNES quality gaming on the go, and it delivered with excellent ports like The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, Super Mario World, and Donkey Kong Country, alongside standout original titles such as Fire Emblem, Mario Kart Super Circuit, and Metroid Fusion. Nintendo refined the hardware multiple times, starting with the original model, which lacked a backlight and ran on AA batteries. The 2003 Game Boy Advance SP introduced a clamshell design, a front-lit screen, and a rechargeable battery. It was a truly incredible upgrade to an already fantastic console, cementing its place as one of the greatest handheld consoles of all time. Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from MojoPlays and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified of our latest videos.